I'm sure you've heard that the 2024-2025 Champions League is taking on a new format, but I'm not sure you understand how absolutely insane it actually is. UEFA, what are we looking at? Is it the arrivals and departures from your local airport? No. It's the league phase from the new Champions League because the group stage is dead. And to the Swiss format, you are gone, but never forgotten. You were perfect. UEFA claim that this new format makes things more competitive and fair. And I call bullshit. They flew Cristiano Ronaldo all the way out from Saudi Arabia to click a damn button 36 times to distract you from the real truths behind this new format. And I'm about to expose all of that in today's video. Lie number one is that it's going to be more competitive when it's not. Big matches like Real Madrid against Liverpool at Anfield, that's a big game. You've got PSG who have to play Manchester City and Bayern Munich. These are supposed to be season-defining games, but the truth of the matter is that the results of these games won't matter because only 12 out of 36 teams get knocked out of the league phase. The other 24 at least move on to a playoff, which means that you don't need to win any of the games against teams that are from Pot A or Pot B. You can just get a couple wins against Bratislava and Sturm Graz, and you're good to go. You're on to the next round. So these big matches that are supposed to make things more competitive, in reality, aren't important at all. If you win your first 3 matches out of the 8 league phase games, you are most likely guaranteed to get at least a playoff spot, making the rest of the matches a little less exciting. In the Swiss format, it used to be where 50% of the teams in the group got knocked out of the Champions League. Now, it's only 33% of the teams in the league phase. The stakes are just lower. And that leads us to lie number 2, which is that it's gonna be more fair. And it's not. It's no different from when we had the Swiss format. It comes down to how difficult your draw is. In this format, it's just Cristiano Ronaldo clicking a magic button and you get your opponents. And Borussia Dortmund, which is my team, got a pretty easy draw. We have a couple of tough teams from Pot 1 and Real Madrid and Barcelona, but after that, it's kind of smooth sailing. And I know I probably just jinxed us and we're gonna lose to Sturm Graz now, but either way, if you compare it to Paris Saint-Germain's draw, they got a much more difficult outing ahead of them. They have very difficult teams from every single pot, but yet the amount of points they get matter the exact same. We go into the exact same league table. That's not fair. And you could argue the Swiss format had the same thing. Some teams had easy groups and some teams had more difficult groups. And I'm not arguing that that was 100% fair. I'm just saying that this new format is not more fair. But that's not the only thing to consider, because in the old Swiss group stage, there were only 96 matches, 6 games for every single team. Now, in the new league phase, there's at least 8 matches for every team, and half of them are going to play 10 if they make the playoff. So if you're not a team who has rostered 72 billion players this season like Chelsea Football Club, you're at an inherent disadvantage. Player welfare is going to be an even bigger issue than it ever was before, because if you're already playing in 1 or 2 domestic cups, your league games, of course, and now you have even more group stage matches in the midweek for Champions League, you're going to see a lot more players getting hurt. The injuries are going to pile up, and it's no surprise that Jurgen Klopp, who has been complaining about congested schedules for the past few years, just so happened to coincidentally step away from managing this season. Because, quite frankly, it's too many games all going on at once, and it even affects the teams that are smaller. Pot C, Pot D are going to be affected even worse because they don't have the depth that the other clubs do. They've got to play on Saturday, and then they've got to play on Tuesday, and then again Saturday, and then Tuesday, and it's going to be a lot of the same 11 players until they end up dropping like flies. So the teams that have huge, deep rosters like Real Madrid and Man City, who already have huge advantages, have an even bigger advantage now. So why did they do it? Why did UEFA rip our beloved Swiss format from our dead hands and replace it with this airport arrivals screen instead? And I think you know the answer. To the reason that UEFA or FIFA, and you know what, EA is catching a stray here too. Why do any of these companies do anything? It's to make more money. And it doesn't matter who they hurt in the process. Now that the league phase and playoffs are 160 games instead of 96, that's a 66% increase in games and likely a 66% increase in UEFA's pockets, but also there's other competitions that FIFA are doing this to. The Club World Cup in 2025 is expanding to 32 teams. The actual World Cup in 2026 is expanding to 48 teams. This is the scary truth of the new era of football. It really wasn't all that long ago when the Super League was introduced to football, when a lot of the biggest clubs in the world and Tottenham joined in pretty much an effort to replace the Champions League. However, after huge backlash from fans, 9 out of the 12 teams that were in the Super League withdrew their interest and even apologized for considering it in the first place. The 10th team, Juventus, withdrew their interest earlier this year, which really has led to the overall collapse of the original Super League idea. But that doesn't mean Florentino Perez and the Super League are going to give up. And it was really the closed system and the over-commercialization of the sport that everybody hated about the Super League, which begs the question about when are, especially the German teams who are explicitly against the over-commercialization of the sport, going to eventually speak up if UEFA keep taking more and more and more and end up looking like what the Super League was going to in the first place. But I don't want this entire video to be me ranting negatively about this new system when there are some positives to be taken away from it as well. And one of those is the final match day. The 8th match day of the league phase is going to happen on January 29th, every game being played at the exact same time. And I think this could cause some chaos that mirrors the final match day of the league, because you're going to see teams between like 18th and 30th still fighting to get into the top 24. And you're still going to see teams between like 4th and 12th fighting to get into that top 8 to try to secure their spot in the round of 16, skipping the round of 32 playoff. On top of that, another positive of this new league phase is that there is not an awkward 2-month gap between the group stage and the knockouts. This group stage and league phase is going to last all the way until January, and then in February, we are going to see that round of 32 playoff, which is going to be followed by the round of 16 knockouts, starting about the same time as the old round of 16 knockouts, which means that if you're a fan of Champions League, you're not going to have any breaks at all. As a fan, that could be pretty awesome. As a player, maybe not so much. And the rest of it really comes down to your own perspective on the sport of football. Do you prefer the traditional ways, or do you actually enjoy the modernization of the sport? Of course, with more matches means that records can be broken more easily, and the heights of Mr. Champions League himself, Cristiano Ronaldo, can be reached. When you have players like Erling Haaland scoring 1 goal per game, if you give him enough games, he will eventually pass Cristiano Ronaldo. And you already have players like him and Kylian Mbappe, who's in the top 10 for goals scored already. It's going to happen. And so players like Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo with records that we previously thought could never be broken, now with more matches being played in the Euros, more matches being played in the World Cup, more matches being played in Champions League and pretty much every competition at this point, means more records will be broken and broken and broken. But you could say the exact same thing about Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo themselves. They got to play more matches than the likes of Maradona, Eusebio, Pele, and everybody who came before them as well. So is this just the natural progression of the game, or is it killing some magic that used to exist in the sport and now just doesn't anymore? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Don't forget to drop a like and subscribe to Nitro Football. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.